Deion Sanders gets disrespected by Colorado student after marijuana smell incident. How Coach Prime's past, principles, and pain shape his fight for respect. The life of Deion Coach Prime Sanders has never been short of drama, discipline, and defiance. From his days as one of the NFL's most electrifying athletes to his current role as the head coach of the Colorado Buffaloes, Sanders has carried himself with a blend of swagger and principle that few in sports can match. But while millions admire his unshakable confidence and refusal to conform to vices, his values often clash with a younger generation more willing to test boundaries. That clash came to a head in Boulder, Colorado, when Sanders revealed on a podcast that not only did he smell marijuana smoke drifting through the air during the Buffalo's home opener against Georgia Tech, but he also felt disrespected by the very students he is trying to inspire. From being called by his first name, something he has long viewed as a slight, to enduring an atmosphere of casual substance use, Sanders is navigating not just opponents on the football field but cultural differences that cut deeper than game day strategy. This is the story of how Deion Sanders' past forged his principles, why the marijuana smoke at Folsom Field struck such a nerve, and how the coach who once redefined cool in sports is now battling for respect in a new era. A man who never escaped clean living. If you ask Deion Sanders why he rails so hard against drugs, alcohol, and casual addiction, he'll tell you it's because he's never been touched by them, and he's proud of it. "I've never smoked, never drank in my life, so I'd never been high," Sanders once said in a 2022 interview while recovering from painful toe surgery. Ironically, it was prescribed painkillers, not alcohol or drugs, that gave him his first glimpse into the dangers of addiction. "But taking these meds, man, I see why people get addicted to that stuff," he admitted. "That stuff grabs hold of you." Even then, Sanders swore off excess, convinced that strength comes from discipline. For him, clean living wasn't just a lifestyle choice, it was survival. He had seen firsthand what substance abuse could do to a family. Growing up, both of his father figures struggled with addiction. His biological father was a drug user. His stepfather battled alcoholism. Yet Sanders resolved not to inherit their demons. Instead, he plucked the positive qualities from both men, the charisma from one, the work ethic from the other, and turned them into the foundation for his own success. "Be careful what you show your kids at home," Sanders often warns, "because they emulate and imitate all those things." It's a mantra he has carried from childhood through his Hall of Fame playing days and now into his coaching career. And it's precisely why smelling marijuana in his home stadium felt like a betrayal. A Friday night under the lights. The Colorado Buffaloes' season opener against Georgia Tech was supposed to be a moment of triumph. Folsom Field, nestled high in Boulder, was buzzing with anticipation. The crowd swelled to over 52,000, a number that surpassed the official stadium capacity and ranked the Buffs among the top attendance draws in the West. The energy was electric. Randy Moss, the NFL Hall of Famer and longtime Sanders supporter, was in the stands cheering for his friend. The lights, the noise, the new season, everything pointed to a night of celebration. And yet, as Sanders stood on the sidelines soaking it in, something else hit him. A smell, a distraction, a sign of disrespect. On September 3rd, appearing on Romy Bean's podcast, Sanders didn't shy away from calling it out. It's almost like they knew it and they did it for me," he said, confirming that marijuana smoke wafted through the air during the game. The timing made it sting even more. "It gets just a little higher around the second quarter," Sanders quipped, a play on words that revealed his disappointment. In a state where recreational marijuana is legal for adults over 21, smoking in public places like stadiums is still prohibited. The University of Colorado Boulder is officially a non-smoking campus. Yet for Sanders, the issue went beyond legality. This wasn't about rules. It was about respect. More than smoke, a name game that cuts deep. The marijuana incident wasn't the only slight Sanders addressed on the podcast. He also revealed his unease with being called by his first name by students on campus. "I got another question," Sanders said, "because I walk with several of my coaches every day, and I want to know what's appropriate because I'm from the South. And no matter my coaches that coached me way back when, I still call them coach. Or teachers who taught me, I call them Mr. And I don't know whether to be applauded, that's not the word. But when they call you by your first name, like, do kids call you by your first name when you're on campus? Like, is that correct? For Sanders, it isn't about ego. It's about honor. In his world, titles matter. Respect is shown not just in actions, but in how you address authority figures. To him, being called Deion by college kids he says are old enough to be my child, feels like a breakdown of values. This isn't the first time Sanders has made his stance clear. Back in July 2021, he walked out of an interview after a reporter repeatedly addressed him by his first name instead of Coach Prime or Coach Sanders. To Sanders, titles aren't negotiable, they're markers of respect earned. So when students at Colorado fail to show that, it cuts deep. Combined with the smell of marijuana in his stadium, it paints a picture of a generation less reverent of authority, less bound by tradition, and more willing to push against the standards Sanders has fought his entire life to uphold. The roots of a coach who refuses to bend. To understand why these slights hit Sanders so hard, you have to look at the roots of his character. He grew up balancing between two fathers, one battling drugs and the other battling alcohol. Instead of falling into the same traps, Sanders chose a different path. He cherry-picked traits, charisma, confidence, resilience, and discarded the rest. It was a survival mechanism, one that made him both cautious and uncompromising. It also made him hyper-aware of influence. He knows kids watch, he knows players imitate, and he knows one careless example can ripple through a locker room or a household. That's why, when Sanders preaches discipline, he does it with urgency. You got to be careful what you show your kids at home, he repeats, a line that doubles as advice for parents and a warning for his players. A hurt hidden beneath the numbers. The irony is that while Sanders felt disrespected, his program was thriving. Colorado football opened its season by exceeding expectations, both on the field and in the stands. The Buffs joined Oregon, Arizona State, and BYU as one of the few programs in the West to surpass stadium capacity on opening weekend. The attendance, 105% capacity with 52,868 fans, was a testament to the energy Sanders has brought to Boulder. National media attention swirled. Big names like Randy Moss showed up to support. Students packed the stands. The program, once stagnant, now pulsed with life. And yet, amid the triumph, Sanders couldn't ignore the sting of disrespect. For him, numbers weren't enough. Wins weren't enough. He wanted discipline, reverence, and a culture that mirrored the standards he lives by. The clash of generations. What Sanders is experiencing in Boulder is bigger than football. It's a cultural clash. To him, marijuana isn't just a plant. It's a symbol of addiction he's avoided his entire life. To students, it may be casual recreation, normalized by state laws and campus culture. To him, calling a coach by his first name is unthinkable. To students, it may feel like harmless informality, part of a society where hierarchies are flatter and authority is questioned. Sanders isn't blind to generational shifts, but he refuses to lower his standards. For him, the battle is clear. Either Colorado football will live by discipline, or it will fall apart under the weight of disrespect. The weight of respect. Respect has always been the currency of Sanders' career. He earned it as a player by shutting down receivers, dazzling crowds, and becoming one of the NFL's few true two-way stars. He earned it off the field with charisma, style, and confidence that made prime time a household name. Now, as a coach, he demands that same respect, not just for himself, but for the program he's building. To him, disrespect is more than an annoyance. It's a crack in the foundation, a warning sign that discipline is eroding. And so he pushes back against marijuana smoke in the stands, against students calling him Deion, against a culture that shrugs at authority. Because for Deion Sanders, respect isn't optional. It's survival. Conclusion: the coach, the culture, and the challenge ahead. As Colorado moves deeper into its 2025 season, the program rides high on fan energy and national attention. The Buffs are selling out stadiums, drawing Hall of Fame supporters and building momentum in the Big 12. But beneath the surface, Deion Sanders is fighting another battle, one not measured in wins or losses but in values and respect. The marijuana smoke at Folsom Field was just one incident. Students calling him by his first name was another. To outsiders, they may seem small. To Sanders, they symbolize something larger. A cultural divide between a man who has lived his life clean, disciplined, and respectful, and a generation less bound by those codes.